Good evening and welcome to Talk in the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, your host, coming to you from the BNN Live studios, Eggleston Square, Jamaica Plain, where tonight on the Boston Neighborhood Network, well, we'll talk about the long, hot summer tonight in two parts. First up, the actual weather itself, or I should say the environment. And tonight, I'm pleased to have back as an annual event, so to speak, the director of E-Ink, and tonight we'll look at some of the films that are being premiered or shown in the Environmental Film Festival coming up this weekend. Dr. Ricky Stern joins us. Then in the second half, we'll take the temperature on the street, so to speak. Of course, the incidents, especially of late, some very violent incidents on the street, and tonight, in the second half, Citizens for Safety, two of their leading spokespersons, both who lost sons to violence on the street, Ruth Rollins, Kim Odom, join us, and we'll talk about their latest campaign to tamp down violence in the city. It's called Lipstick. All that and more tonight on Talking the Neighborhoods. All right, we're back with Talking the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, host. Tonight, a two-part show as we head into the summer doldrums, the heart of the summer. What better topic to talk about than the weather itself? Well, how about the environment? Last week's weather, 7 straight days of over 90-degree heat, makes many people wondering what's happening with the environment, climate change, all those issues. Tonight, joining us, a person who can answer some of those questions and helping to raise the awareness of the environment in general. From E-Ink, the executive director, Dr. Ricky Stern, joins us, and what better time than the advent of the annual Environmental Film Festival starting this weekend, really. And I want to thank her for joining us. Thanks so much. Nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, this thing has really taken on a life of its own. I know in years past, the Environmental Film Festival was, a bit of a fundraiser, but an awareness thing. But this year, you've got some really exciting films, and
we changed it up. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we just rethought it as an organization that's dedicated to sort of education and looking at ways to get people excited and involved from a sense of knowledge. We thought that this was I just said go backwards. I went to see the Washington, D.C. Film Festival. It's like a 25-year-old environment film festival, so it's really, done his homework, and just appreciated the amount of really interesting films that are out there. I mean, they have 2 weeks of films all over the city, and I thought we can begin to move in this direction because really, what's the goal of it all? The goal of it all is for someone to walk into a movie and suddenly think, oh my God, I didn't know that, or this really explained this well, I can make a difference here, I'm going to do something about that. And since the environment in general is truthfully just in tremendous trouble on almost every arena that you look, that there's just no opportunity any longer for people to be sort of, I need more evidence, or passive about the issues. I mean, it's just, you can, we were talking before the show started in the back room there, and just the idea that there are icons you never consider are ever going to really, get destroyed. And suddenly, New York City, the jewel of the East Coast, let's just say, of course, Boston is the second best there, but just, inundated, frightening, really, really something to appreciate. And you just driving over here, the clouds, huge, filled with water. So what happens is that all these events are related clearly to global warming, and all of global warming is related to overpopulation and our utter dependence on energy. We have changed what's going on in not just this country, but around the planet within 150 years, which is a drop in the bucket when you think about life on the planet existing. And so human beings have used their skills to such an intense degree that they have managed to, add so many people in a short time that you don't even know what to say, and you can't even get the basic resources to all those people.
Well, it's not like sucking up the air, but it's close to in some ways. And again, well, let's talk a little bit about your film festival,
sure,
and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening on the environment front. You've got a really interesting array this year.
Unbelievable. The way we did
this is all happening Saturday, is that correct?
Yeah, we're starting small. We want to see how it goes. We're hoping that we can fill our seats and really get folks out. We decided to do it thematically, so there'll be one documentary and a set of shorts that relate to it. And the shorts, some of them are very serious, some of them are very funny, they're international, there's a couple of animations. So it kind of set the scene, and then right after people see the shorts, they'll see the main film.
And this is all taking place starting what time?
First films at one site begin at 11. But they're spread across 5 sites, and the way we try to do it, if you really are dying to see 2, you can. But you'll see things about water or about climate, environmental activism, the environment movement in a history, and the filmmaker will be there. And then a real adorable one about birding in Central Park, which is the most whimsical, sweet thing. So there's just really a great array.
And anybody looking to find out about the times, locations, go to your website?
Correct. It's e-action.us. And all you have to do is open up their brand new website, click the Film Festival tab, and there's schedules and bus and train stops, and all of it's really accessible and all within a small circle. It's downtown Boston, maybe to the bottom of the South End.
Okay. Tell us about this first, and we've got some previews, some trailers here, so to speak.
Yeah.
And first one is Island President.
Yes,
what do our viewers need to know?
There's the hero story is this story. There's actually 2 that are like that, where the central character is the president of the Maldives, becomes president
of the
Maldives.
Okay.
It's
the island chain.
Yep, an archipelago, and the government apparently has been very dictatorial. Suddenly, he's democratically elected. He's been a political activist, and he realizes that the country is going under.
All right, let's roll that out again. This is Island President. That is Island President, just one of the films that will be shown this weekend as part of the E-Ink Environmental Film Festival. Joining me tonight, Dr. Ricky Stern, the Executive Director, as we preview this annual right, growing in importance every year. As you can see there, the Island President refers to the Maldives Islands in the Indian Ocean and the rising ocean threatening those islands amongst many other. Where is that showing at, Dr.
That's going to be at the Goethe Institute, and memory says 170 Beacon Street. I'm trying to remember the time. I believe it's an early film, so it's probably either 11 or 12 start. And if people just go to the website, they'll have the whole schedule there.
It's e-action.
Right, it's e-action.us.
Okay. All right, now let's. The next one here is Fierce Green Fire.
Yes, that actually got play in cinemas around the country. We had it at the Kendall Square here in the Boston area for a week. And it's an amazing, it took this man years to make this movie. It's a historic overview of the environmental movement. And the thing that's so interesting about it is, right now, maybe it's me and technologies, but there's a sense of complacency. We have our machinery, things seem pretty okay. And yet, all around us, that's not the case. So if one picks up one's head out of those screens, you find out that in my lifetime, there was a period of time where folks got up and said, you know what? we're not feeling okay about how things are going. And this is the story of the beginning of a really serious movement, a movement that got attached to the civil rights movement in many ways, a movement that really put people in the streets organizing to get their voices heard about things that are so, so serious, and that our country is not moving on. So I think it's pretty interesting to see that there was a time in the 60s and 70s where the American public was highly motivated. And everything that you see in the environment movement starts there. So it's like going back to your roots.
Yeah, and it's called Fierce Green Fire, and showing us part of the Environmental Film Festival, I think. Yeah, and that's Fierce Green Fire, one of the films being shown this weekend as part of the Environmental Film Festival, focused on the history of the environment from, well, Love Canal and on. Joining us, Dr. Ricky Stern, the Executive Director of E-Ink, and one of those helping to bring the film festival to people out there. Where can people find that? Where can they see it?
That's going to be held at a place called the Castle Square Tenant Association or Organization.
Yeah.
That's on Tremont Street, right where the Chinatown and South End meet. So it's pretty easy to find, and it's a interesting building because it's been it's the deepest retrofit for energy in the country so far is right here in Boston, and they also just have a new build, a community center inside, which is where we'll be, and that community center is a LEED certified. We're doing a tour of the building an hour before, so people can just see what the elements of a LEED building are. And also the filmmaker is coming, and he will do a Q&A after the film at that site. Yeah, well, very exciting.
And now we have, it looks like Bitter 70.
Yes, very.
Tell us about that.
Yep, a little bit of an in-your-face film. So this is about activism. And it's also, again, another story of people taking action regardless of consequences. Here's a young man, Tim DeChristopher, who still under the Bush administration he's a student in Utah. The Utah is, the Bush administration rewrote regs and allowed some beautiful land that was supposed to be protected to suddenly be available for mining, for mineral rights were going to be bid. And he goes to this auction for the rights, and he outbids everybody and doesn't have a dime to his name. So a little civil disobedience, but then it gets very serious because the Bush administration absolutely went after him and put him in jail. And he just got out, he was there, by the time he got in, it was 2 years, and he just got out, I don't know, a month and a half ago. So, in fact, he was, there's a great, on our not our website, our Facebook page, there's an interview of him by David Letterman, who brought him on right after he got out of jail. I thought that was kind of sort of interesting. Anyway, it's a great little film, and it's just about one young man saying, we can be better.
And what happens, again, it's called Bitter 70, and that's B-I-D-D-E-R, as in submitting a bid, and here's the trailer for that. All right, again, that one is called Bitter 70. That looks very interesting. A young man looking to take on the authorities there, certainly in Utah, the federal government. We've got one more we want to look at quickly, but do you find amongst, and I was thinking about this when, and I'm dating myself here, but the environmental movement at one time took on a life of its own. Young people coming up through the system, are they as engaged? Are they as kind of aware of what's at risk, in your opinion?
Well, it's a very good question.
What are you finding?
I see two different things. Certainly, there's an ilk of people that are a subset of young people that come into work for us, at our nonprofit, and they are amazing. They have done service in other parts of the country. They speak several languages. They've taught, in different parts of the world, and they are hard bitten. They see the handwriting on the wall, and they want to, in their personal lives, show that they understand. They bike, they recycle, and they just live a life that speaks to, I'm understanding my place on the planet, and I don't own it. What we used to talk about so often, it's so trite but true, the U.S. is 5% of the world's population, and we use 25% of its energy. So the simple math says that 20% of that energy belongs to someone else. And when you see people being poor in other places and no access, it's because we're overusing. So that's just a simple one way to look at some stuff. So on that level, I see some really decent human beings out there trying so hard. And of course, as you know, E-Inc., which is not a film festival organization per se, but is an environment, science, and action organization devoted to action, has taken on teaching the science of many aspects of the environment within first in after schools, and now also in the public school system. And we are seeing that the young people, first of all, because of the way we teach the science, are absolutely glomming onto it, are loving it, coming up to our teachers when we come into the building and saying what they've done, and we have pledge walls, and they love being the better self.
Thinking of their carbon footprint.
Yeah, that's right. They like being their better self, and I think you can appeal to people for good or for ill, and that's just who we are. We have both capacities.
So you have great hope for the younger generation?
No, I don't have great hope. I don't. I would be lying if I said I do. But I think that the only opportunity for people who believe that something needs to be done is to do what you can to do something about it. And the point of doing the films is to say, look at these people, look what they're getting done, and where are the rest of us?
Well, we've got one more we want to get to again. This one is called Birders, the Central Park Effect.
Yeah, this is cute. This is a cute film.
Okay.
It was up for an Emmy. I think it got an Emmy. And it is a film. What happens is, when you think of New York, you think of the concrete jungle, right? And even as a former New Yorker, I lived near Central Park, and it was always delightful to go to, but I never personally saw it as a reservation or a conservation land. Well, birds do, apparently. And so huge numbers of birds on their migration paths use Central Park as a flyover, as a stopover. Right. And people started to understand this, and it's just the story of the people who are the birders, what they see. But these people are hysterical and cute and interesting, and some very famous people are interviewed.
All right, well, let's see if we've got time, I think, yet to see this one. It's called Birders, the Central Park Effect.
Yeah.
Again, that one is called Birders, the Central Park Effect, and tonight in this first half, talking about the Environmental Film Festival. It's this Saturday, August 3rd, and joining me again, Dr. Ricky Stern, the Executive Director of E-Inc., the sponsor of this annual film festival, and looks like you got a great lineup this year.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Again, for those looking for more information on, and how many films total?
So there are 6, total there are 30. So there are 6 documentaries, and then that up front, and each of them will be a set of, shorts. And I'll say one thing, there's a thing called, a short of a longer film called Cafeteria Man. This guy is a chef in Nashville, he's famous, and he gets asked by the public school system, will he become the head of their food system? And this man takes it over, only fresh stuff. People are up at dawn baking fresh bread for the children. I mean, he's nuts. He's just funny. You don't want, that's worth the the whole $5 price of admission.
And so people can again find out about this. They go to your website.
Yep, e-action.us. There's a film festival tab. Click there. We have all the films, all the sponsors, all the venues, how to get everywhere, a full schedule. It's just, and we've got a burrito place giving money off to anybody that has seen a film. And we've got some cute little things going on, so we hope people will
anybody
join.
can join in. And
sure.
As always, something to look forward to, especially, again, this Saturday, August 3rd, the Environmental Film Festival. Dr. Ricky Stern, as always, I loved having you in here.
Thank you.
Looking at what's ahead, interesting take, especially if you're interested in the environment. And even if you're not, it looks like some pretty good comedy and a few laughs in between. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
When we return with more of Talking to the Neighborhoods, well, we'll continue our focus on the long, hot summer, though a little different take. We'll take the temperature on the street. Joining us, representatives for Citizens for Safety, who are working to get guns off the street and stop the violence that's been plaguing many of our neighborhoods here in the city. Stay tuned. I'm Joe Heisler, your host, and in the second half, we continue our focus on the long, hot summer, and in this segment, the temperature on the street, so to speak. Got a couple of very special guests joining us to talk about a campaign they have launched to keep the temperature down on the street. Of course, we're talking about Citizens for Safety, the nonprofit group that has been working to change gun laws, to get more people involved in stopping the killing, stopping the violence that has plagued our city. And pleased to have joining us two of their members, their executive director, and Ruth Rollins, a woman that I met last year, who's unfortunately had some direct experience with this, losing a loved one on the streets. And of course, Nancy Robinson, the executive director for Citizens for Safety. Tell me about this new program, Lipstick. What an ingenious idea. What a, first of all, what does it stand for, Lipstick?
I'll let Nancy start. It's a treat having her here with us tonight.
Well, it's a treat doing this with you, and Joe, thank you for having us on.
Of course.
So as you know, we started by asking a very simple, direct question: where are the guns coming from? And what we found recently is that one of the answers to that question is sadly women. That women are being exploited and sweet-talked and bribed in some cases to get these guns for their boyfriends or husbands or men in their lives who can't buy guns legally.
So straw purchases, we're talking about?
Exactly what it is.
And how widespread is this? I mean, because I think, you know, people go, oh, yes, of course, there's always people out there that are kind of duped or conned or what have you, but what has your research shown you? What are you finding out on the street?
Oh, this is very widespread. It's nationally, actually. Nancy could probably contest more to that, how nationally it is. We've just been doing this locally, but the more, it seems like, as we would say, we're putting it on blast. So a lot of different cities want to have us come out to do these educational workshops. We're getting requests for them. This is something that has been happening for a very long time. You know,
just not talked about.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. And I see it, I had mentioned to you the last time I was on here, professionally, I'm a domestic violence advocate, so I see it firsthand. They just called it something differently. But since we've done this campaign, more women are coming forward and saying how, you know, I think more so it's something healing and something that they want to get involved with the community. That most people, it's a direct result of been involved due to a homicide or lost somebody.
Well, yeah, I know you had a big event last week because we were trying to figure out how to get you here on the show before, but it didn't work out. I'm glad you came, and I know you have some upcoming events as well. How did that go? What was the response? Where were you at?
Well, I would love to just tell people that we are having these two workshops. One on Thursday evening, this Thursday, August 1st, at St. Mary's Church, and it's really for the faith-based community. It kicks off at 5:30, and we're going to have some food there and some interactive exercises. So we
St. Mary's in Dorchester.
In Dorchester, Upham's Corner area.
14 Cushing Ave.
Right, Cushing Ave.
And then Friday morning, we're going to follow that up with one for teens, youth and youth workers, and that's going to be at the Grove Hall Community Center, and that kicks off at 10:30. And again, we're going to provide lunch.
Wow. Well, and so anybody can come to these events?
Absolutely free. We feel like we want to put it on blast. We want people to have a better understanding of where these guns come from. And I like to say that the bad news is that the women are contributing to some of the violence with guns. That's the bad news. The good news is that once women find out that they're playing this role, they turn it around. They change. I can't tell you how many women we've spoken to who said, if I knew then what I know now, I would have made different choices. And then they go back and they tell their daughters, and then they tell their colleagues and friends and neighbors. And we know that if we change a woman, we change the next generation. And if we do that, then, Joe, we change everything.
Well, and of course, the simple truth of the matter is lots of times guns that are being used in commission of, felonies, shootings, murders, are passed on, are passed around, used in more than one crime. So trying to put a stop to it before it gets to that point it could save multiple lives.
That's exactly right. That's what we do.
Well, and I know and Nancy, you've been working on it for a while, and Ruth, you've jumped right in here. Of course, we're there again. We're every year we talk about this, and I know you've been here at various times over the years, but in living almost in fear of this time of year because these incredible, inexplicable, senseless violence occurs, and we keep thinking we're somehow going to be able to get a handle on it, but it never seems to happen. And this year again, as a matter of fact, there's been an uptick in violence again, and not the least of which is one recent that didn't involve a shooting, but a knifing, but it just kind of brings it all home. And are people starting to get it? I mean, are more people engaged, involved, working with police or working with you to try and prevent it? Give us some hope. Is there hope?
Well, Ruth, you talk about the beauty event last week, because I think it's a perfect example that
and I don't mean to be Debbie Downer.
No, it's okay.
But
it's okay.
I mean, it's just this sense. There's almost a sense of foreboding when you get to the summer months.
Okay. So the last time we were on here, we were talking about the educational workshops we were doing. So most recently, we're finding out that we have to meet people where they're at. So we came up with an idea that we would have a beauty day / educational day. So we were able to get a hair salon that was able to support us to have an event there. And that's what you read about. We had over 100 people there, women and children, that
I was on the air, I would have been there.
Okay.
I think, because clearly I need some help here, but I'm just kidding. Keep going.
And part of the incentive was getting a discount hairdo or a nail, but there was a lot of people that just weren't aware, just didn't know anything about straw purchasing, things they can do, how they can get involved. The outpour, the support that we got, there were so many people that signed up. Not just young, just older women too. There was a few older women there. It was like, after leaving the workshop, she felt empowered. She says, my son has guns in the house right now. She said, and I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to stand up. She said, I want to join you women. So it's really just being educated and advocacy. We've been just meeting women where they're at. And it has been. It's been very, it's really, it's a strength of empowerment. And support. This one lady joined.
Even if it's one at a time.
Exactly. And a lot of people was like, well, that's not, and that's why I do what I do. I mentioned it to you before, I lost my son, Warren Daniel Hairston, in 2007 due to a homicide that was unsolved. And that's why I do what I do, as long as I can touch somebody, give back, try to make a difference in somebody's life. And we're finding out through this that a lot of people just want to do something to support their community. We have homicide survivors, we have activists, we have people that just want to make a difference in our community. And with this campaign, we've just been reaching, it's like teach one, touch one, help one.
it's not just one, because the women who are coming around and who really appreciate what they're learning about where these guns are coming from and the role women are playing, they step up and they participate, and then they go out and teach. We have a tool we give where we demonstrate sort of with this reenactment of how the guns actually are pumped into our community. And I think you and Kim, that's Kim Odom, the other woman we work with, one of our other leaders, and they were invited to do that presentation that night, and they couldn't do it, and then 2 or 3 of the women we had just trained stepped up and went and did it, and we see that all over. How about little 13-year-old Anna, who's so incredible?
Well, this is a little different tact. I mean, you've been working on changing the gun laws and, you know, on a number of fronts. That's just the least of them, but a little different mode of attack or angle of attack here.
It's cultural. We're changing cultural norms, and we're getting women to think twice before they put the gun in their backpack or hide it in their stairwell. And that's huge, because that's a change in behavior. We don't have to wait for Congress to do anything, because they sure are taking their time. And so we can impact the problem right here, right now. And I know you were
some immediacy to it.
Exactly.
And we've got just a couple minutes. I've got to ask you about this, because of course, you know, after the Newtown shootings, there was some sense that, you know, finally it would unfortunately take a tragedy like that, but that there would be some changes to the gun laws. And, you know, I know there's still some work going on, and certainly around background checks and et cetera, but disappointing to you after all the work that you've done, and is that why you're focusing more on these kinds of...
This is how we're going to build that army to get those good gun laws passed. And I have to tell you, I was thinking about this driving over here. I've never been more hopeful. I say that honestly. I feel like right now, coming off the heels of last week's event and looking at these 2 workshops on Thursday night and Friday morning, it's possible. I know Tina Sherry talks about peace is possible. I really feel it. I've been watching these women and young girls really embrace this campaign and actually change the way the guns are moving. And so I think everything's possible right now.
Again, the campaign that they're launched here of late is called Lipstick. That's right, ladies involved in putting a stop to inner city killing, and it's a initiative by Citizens for Safety. Joining me from Citizens for Safety, Ruth Rollins, and of course Nancy Robinson, their executive director. We've got just a minute or 2 left, and I want to talk a little bit, again, your events, and anybody can join into these. There's one on August 1st over at St. Mary's on Cushing Ave in Dorchester. That's starting at 5:30. And then the other one is the next morning, August 2nd. And where is that at again?
That's at Grove Hall Community Center, 51 Geneva Ave, Dorchester, Mass. And lunch will be served with that also. It's going to be from 10:30 to 12:30 with lunch followed. Well,
and we've got, as I said, just a minute left. Ruth, this is, you know, particularly for you, well, a labor of love, a love for your son that you lost. Do you find when you're talking to people that, you know, it shouldn't have to take that kind of experience to kind of get through to people, but that it allows you to connect on some level, especially with mothers? Yes. No mother wants to lose a son, any son, especially by something as senseless as gun violence. Exactly. And it's healing for me. It's healing for me. Just trying to make a difference in some, you know, in our community to, you know, just to stop all the violence. So I wanted to do it on any capacity, you know, capacity to just make a difference in the community, you know, and I do what I do in the honor of my son's name. You do. You know, it gives me the strength to go forward, because these workshops are they're very emotional at times. You know, we may have somebody, a perpetrator's mother in the audience, and then we may have a survivor on the other hand.
but everyone comes together. Everyone comes together and they want to do something. So magic happens at our presentation.
And that's because of Ruthie and Kim. And because they have so much love in their hearts for their community, for their sisters in the community, and for the children coming up. There's so much love that if I had to just use one word to define Ruth's work with this project, it's love.
And instant credibility, certainly. Has there been an increased focus on what you're doing on the whole issue of public safety of guns as a result of the mayoral campaign? Can you feel something out there? Is the ground moving? We talk a lot of politics here, and we're trying to get some sense of. Has it hit home yet?
I think so. I think people, as Ruthie said, they want something to do that's meaningful, that will make a difference. And if they come at this problem with an open mind, ready to solve it, ready to look at where the guns are coming from, would you agree? I think that's, we're halfway home.
It's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start, and we have to start somewhere.
Absolutely right. Again, Nancy Robinson and Ruth Rollins from Citizens for Safety. Their latest campaign is called Lipstick. That's right. Ladies involved in putting a stop to inner city killings. A couple of events coming up this week, August 1 in St. Mary's in Dorchester, August 2nd in Grove Hall at the Community Center. That's a morning thing, serving food as well there. Ladies, thanks so much for coming by and joining us. Nice to see you again, right, Nancy? Nice to see you as always.
Keep you posted.
We will. We hope you'll come back and keep us posted.
Yes.
Dan, you're watching Talking to the Neighborhoods here on the Boston Neighborhood Network. We're here tonight and every Monday night. At the same time, we'll be back next week. Joining us, City Councilor Charles Yancey will join us to talk about his mayoral campaign. We'll also have the newest lawmaker in Boston from the East Suffolk District, Jay Livingstone, joins us. All that and more next week. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us tonight.